Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the ComicBase live stream. The best, I'm sorry, worst British show on the internet. That's what I meant. I really did, guys. It's been a heck of a couple weeks. Thank you all for joining me. This will probably be a relatively quick show today because there's mischief afoot, and I need to get onto it. But I did want to check in with you folks because it's been a couple weeks and I've been missing. I appreciate everyone coming here. Just by way of brief explanation, had a birthday. My wife took me out traveling for that one. Last couple weeks, there's just been other projects in the works, and then I went on a crazy road trip, which I will talk about on this show. This is the McKay's road trip. I'll explain what the hell that was as best as I can. Unfortunately, with very few pictures, which I'm sad about. And after that, we'll be on to Comic-Con. So. Anyway, I did want to say hi to everyone, and let's get on with that part at least. So first of all, Richard Scott, reruns for him. Well, we miss you already, Richard. We hope you'll join us on the live stream later on. Oro Villa is on the house from glorious summer's day in Minneapolis, which is freaking me out because they're getting good weather lately, and Minneapolis are calling me up to tell me, it's like, oh yeah, you should be back here, man. It's wonderful compared to Tennessee, which, damn it, it's true right now. 73 and beautiful and not even much humidity. Gotta be kidding me. Department of Comics in the house here. Thunderstorm approaching from Florida. I hope some of that weather comes out here. My lawn is dead. It is death and destruction out here in Tennessee. Everything is just getting browner by the day, and all that grass I spent all this time in the spring planting it's all just burning up. Gregory Hecht, our moderators here, also had some heat waves out in Jersey, it looks like, and thunderstorms. Hopefully, hey, spread the love. Xanadu Comics coming in from Seattle, where they never have a problem with the rain. Jet City Comics from Ording. Mike Beam, Brian Price from Dallas, Scruffy from Syracuse. Welcome, everyone. All right, so just a couple quick bits of news. So if you guys are looking at the latest ComicBase builds, the latest is, I believe, 1233. Nothing's particularly important about the last couple of tiny revs on that one, just refreshes of a couple drivers and things like that. And honestly, a lot of prep for what we're doing next, which, if you guys are hip to Magic Castle, is coming very shortly. It's the biggest open secret that we've been doing since we've been doing this whole wacky comic-based thing is that, well, the comic year kind of centers around Comic-Con, and even though it's been a couple of years since we've been at Comic-Con, for a couple decades, was where we would always roll out new versions, and let's just say that old habits die hard. So it won't be exactly like that because we're not at Comic-Con anymore. The show's changed enough over the years that it really just became increasingly silly for us to be doing long-form software demos at the world's loudest convention. Well, actually, not as loud as Chicago. I'm going to say the year we tried to do long-form software demos of a database program across from a stage where they thought, and they swear to God, the show guys told me this, we thought we put you in a really great place. It was dead center of the entire convention store floor across from the wrestling rink. So we'd be, doing things like say, oh yeah, well, so this is ComicBase. It's a great program for managing your comic book collection. Say, go boom! As some 250-pound guy gets slammed into the ground and screams go up everywhere. It's like, yeah, that was no fun whatsoever. But anyway, Comic-Con, as much as we love it, and we do, it just got to be like much more about it got very expensive for one, not just for the vendors. It was costing us 5 digits to go there every time, but on top of that, it's very expensive for the attendees at this point, and it got very competitive to even get in. Ever since Hollywood kind of came into the whole mix of things, it went from being a comic show and pop culture show to really being just very much a Hollywood, new TV premieres, meet actors, things like that, kind of show, which is great. I mean, I love all of that stuff, but it wound up being that with 150,000 people in the hall, there were maybe 10,000 who'd ever bought a comic book, and it was less our kind of crowd. And also, if you were going to go to Comic-Con, you had to really make it worth your time. And so if you're going to cruise the hall, you were going to do it at light speed, basically looking for exclusives that you could, hopefully, buy quickly and sell off back home to kind of repay part of the cost of your ticket and so forth. And typically we're selling software that you can kind of buy anytime you want. So after many years of doing this thing, even though again I love the scene and I am looking forward to going there as a civilian this year, we made the very difficult decision a few years back to not go to the show itself. So instead, we usually do something that's kind of like away from the show to talk about new things that are going on in our lives, and let's just say stay tuned. And if you're not on our mailing list, hint, 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 www.comicbase.com, go under your profile and make sure you have signed up under that. You've got that little box checked for the ComicBase mailing list. It could be that you're hearing something kind of special from us very shortly. So make sure that's happening. And if you've got like an ancient email in your profile at www.comicbase.com under your profile, I'm sorry, your contact info, make sure you've updated your email because we don't spam a lot. But when we do need to talk to you, we try to make sure it's worth your while. And we might have something worthwhile to say very shortly. Just say it. Okay. So, oh my God, Brian Student says, my feet just melted over on the tarmac at the Las Vegas McCarran Airport at 110 degrees. My wife was just telling me yesterday that they've had something like 2 weeks straight of 115 degree or higher days out there, which I absolutely believe. But at least it's a dry heat. Whereas they say in Vegas, it's not the heat, it's the heat. But anyway, and Department of Comics, I don't know what's going on with that one, but lost his internet, but apparently is still kind of here with us, at least in spirit. Anyway, we're glad you can make it. All right, so with all that said, let me tell you about the craziest thing I have done lately in my adult life, which is the McKay's road trip. And this is the one time I'll get out the visual aid behind me. Yes, and I'm tethered on a very, very short cord. So this is the McKay's road trip. Funny story. So it's the 4th of July. We're doing a big barbecue for a bunch of people in my wife's social sphere. I'm in charge of the grill, so I'm basically just sitting there just grilling my butt off all day long. Big party, went off really well, a lot of fun. And then the 5th came along, and it's like, okay, well, phew, thank God, the big obligation of the time of the weekend is over. Now let's go ahead and kind of enjoy ourselves. Hey, let's go to McKay's. McKay's is a bookstore. It's a bookstore and a half. It is just a gigantic, sprawling, messy, place for all things comics, books, DVDs. They've got music equipment. I mean, this is the Nashville store, of course. So racks and racks of just used guitars. You imagine like every pawn store you've ever seen rolled into one. They've got Funko Pops. They've got vinyl. They've got just you name it. And this thing it goes on forever. It's a big mess, and everything tends to be kind of cheap. And you never know what you're going to get into over there. So it quickly became our favorite place to go at least once a month or so while we're out in since we got up to Nashville. And we did a big clear out of old books and stuff like that a few years ago. And you can, of course, when you sell to any used bookstore, they always offer you 2 deals. They said, well, okay, we bring in bins and bins of stuff. They said, okay, well, we'll give you X amount of dollars in actual money, or we'll give you like 3 times that much in trade. So of course, anyone who actually buys and sells used stuff, you always take the trade if you can. And we've been living off of a trade voucher at McKay's for pretty much the last 5 years, because as soon as we started using it all, we would have picked up new things from there, and some of those things we get tired of, and other things we get tired of, and so you sell those back. You buy a few more things, lather, rinse, repeat. So we haven't actually paid cash for anything at McKay's for 5 years or so after we did that big dumping of all our old excess stuff. But just a week ago, we finally ran the voucher out. It's like, whoa, we can't believe we actually had to get out like $5 and pay for our bill at McKay's for a big stack of Blu-rays and things like that. And it's like, wow, okay, that's amazing. But I'm going there to pick up my voucher, for the last thing I was going to go sell, a copy of Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which they're going to give me all of $2 in trade for. I'm not bitter, no. But anyway. But I noticed a sign on the side of the wall, just a little, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, by where the people have to wait as they're posting their stuff. And it says, yeah, McKay's, it's our 50th anniversary, and we have 5 stores. And it's like, 5 stores? Where? Because I knew they had 1 in Chattanooga, but that was about it. But we have 5 stores all the way through between, Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, into North Carolina, Winston-Salem, and then a place called Mebane. or it looked like Mebane, but it's Mebane. What we're doing for our 50th anniversary here is we're saying we want to encourage you to visit our stores. So we'll do you a deal. You go to one store in the morning, or we open up at 8 in the morning, and we'll give you a lovely passport. And you go to a second store, and we will stamp that passport, and we'll give you a t-shirt. It's like, oh, okay, t-shirt, yeah, that's nice. But it's like 150 miles. I don't really need a t-shirt all that much. But you go to a third store, we'll give you a drink bottle, snacks, because you probably need them by then, and $50 in trade credit. It's like, okay, now we're talking $50 in trade credit, but I'd have to drive all the way from Nashville to Knoxville to get that. All right, well, tell me more. Well, it turns out if you drive to the fourth store, in this case, that would be Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which, so we start here and we're going all the way now to here. If you go there, they will give you a poster. This would be the poster. Spoilers. And $250 in trade credit. And if you make it all the way to Mebane, etc., then they will give you $500 in trade credit. Now, I'm looking at this thing. I showed it to my wife and said, Carolyn, this is nuts, but you're in for it? And it takes you all 2 seconds to say, no way in hell. but it's just one of those things where, like, I like a challenge, and so I'm reading up about it, and I'm thinking, well, how many people could possibly do this? And it turns out it's not competitive per se. The only trick is you have to do everything, and you have to have gotten your final stamp before the last store closes at 10 p.m. And I look at it, and it's like 620 miles or something to do the full run. And I'm sitting there going, working traffic, time zones, everything else. I'm thinking, it's just possible, but just, there's some slack, but you got to figure you're going to be waiting in line at different places. You got to fill up gas, things like that. It's not entirely not tight, and things go wrong as things do. But I'm just, Carolyn's looking at me and she's going, I can tell you're thinking about it. It's like, you're damn right I'm thinking about it. And then I'm reading the FAQ on the McKay's thing, and they're saying, and the FAQ has wonderful questions on it, like, why the hell are you doing this? Isn't that a lot of money? Is there, can only a certain number of people win? The answer is no. If multiple people go in a big carpool, does everyone get a separate prize? Yes, absolutely they do. And best of all, the prizes stack. Which is to say, it isn't like you go and decide when you go to the third store, well, do I want the $50 voucher and the drink thing, or do I want to push on and go for the $250? And then from that one, do I push on and go to get the for the $500? No, you get them all. And so if you complete this entire run, this entire crazy run, you get like $800 in trade credit, as well as various other goodies. And I'm thinking, like, Carol, I got to do this, And she's like, yeah, I know, I knew you would. And so I'm working it out. And as it turns out, and it happens on, I believe, a Tuesday, is when the whole thing starts. Because it's going to be a Tuesday, at that point, I was like, okay, I got to cancel live stream, because if I'm doing this, I'm not going to be in any shape, and certainly not the location to do a live stream on Wednesday, which is why there was no live stream last Wednesday. So this is the long explanation for this one. But dutifully, I get as much sleep as I possibly can the night before. I made the controversial decision to not do the smart thing, because the smart thing, if you would work it all out, again, let's go to the map. So here's Nashville. And it turns out that the Eastern time zone starts right there, right? So as soon as you get to Chattanooga, you've just crossed into the Eastern time zone. So by going east, you're actually losing an hour. So you have only 13 hours to do the entire 600 and some mile run. And again, there's at least a couple areas where, Nashville, Knoxville, so forth, where the traffic is not inconsiderable. Just, even if you're counting that, they'll move you in and out of the individual stores pretty quickly, which, as it turns out, was a bit of a dicey proposition. But anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, well, okay, a smart person, clearly not me, would go out there Monday night, drive all the way to Mebane, and then make their way back, on the day, because then the time zones work for you, and you'd get an extra hour. You'd have 15 and a half hours, actually, to do the entire thing. But unfortunately, that would mean that I'd be driving really far to get someplace I didn't want to go, and then driving really fast to get back, which means I wouldn't have any fun the entire time. And the other problem with it is that it actually is a little too easy then. because in 15 hours, it's pretty easy to make the trip. You've got like 5 hours for things to go wrong, and you'd still make it. And it's not as much fun that way. So I decide, no, screw it. I'm going from Nashville. So I get up at 6 in the morning, get some coffee in me, and I decide I'm gonna have the 1 cup of coffee, and that's gonna be it. I'm not doing any eating or drinking until I'm the other place, because one thing you also can't afford to do is go for bathroom breaks all the time. The only thing that's getting filled up is my car. And so anyway, so 7:30 in the morning, I'm in the Nashville McKay's parking lot, where at this point would be a great time if I can find it very, very quickly. I was trying so hard to get things transferred off my phone, and really having a rotten time of it, because oh, here we are. All right, let's see if I can put that up on the screen and make that show up. And I'm sure getting this in my headphones, but I don't know if that's going to show. Dang it. All right, hold on a second. Hold on just a second. I need to make that really big so I can see it. No, not that one. There you go. That's the one. And then make it large. All right, and then switch cameras to that one right there. Okay. So this is the scene at 7:30 in the morning at the Nashville McKay's. Now, this is after I've been, again, you get up dawn. The place isn't supposed to even open till 9, but they said, look, we're going to open it up at 8 just to make sure that everything goes smoothly on this whole thing. As it turns out, as I'm pulling into the parking lot half an hour before the alleged opening time, thinking, that's pretty sensible. Cars are already coming out. Apparently, they decided to open the whole thing up at 7, but all right, so here we go. I'm sorry. I take that back. The pictures I grabbed there that was Knoxville. Just imagine a scene that looks just like it happening with every one of these McKays all across the country, and you've pretty much got the scene. Apparently, word came out as we got on the road. The scene over at Mebane was 4 hours of backup right in the morning, because it turns out that a lot of people apparently don't have a sensible wife who tells them, no way in hell, I'm not doing it. You're crazy to do this. What the hell's wrong with you? And apparently thousands and thousands of people decided $800 in free stuff. Hell yeah, get in the car. So anyway, so yeah, I'm pulling into the Nashville parking lot half an hour before they're supposed to be there. Cars are already leaving. The line's backed up to the wall. There's a million people there. You're very cheerfully chatting with the other people, because you're saying we're about to do something very silly today, and a bunch of us are, middle-aged folks like myself. And and we eventually get up to the front, get our passport stamped, and we're off to the race. So I got my passport at 8:01 a.m. I mean, it could not have timed it better. But by the time I pulled out of the parking lot, now I noticed that the entrance going into the freeway exit that pulls in towards McKay's is now backed up for half a mile. So again, my timing was wonderful for where I was at. Would have been even better if I was there an hour earlier. But hey, I'll take it. So do that. Head out like a bat out of hell towards, Chattanooga. Speed limits may or may not have been exceeded. Not admitting to anything, So screw you, cops. You can't. You got nothing on me. Anyway, get Chattanooga, blaze in, get the thing. Things are still going pretty well. People are moving in pretty fast. Apparently they were supposed to hand out T-shirts. I did not know this. They stamped my passport. I figured I'm off. Got to Knoxville, which is the scene you saw out there. All those people were waiting outside to even get their passport stamped to get into the store. Because again, going to the one and only visual aid we have here, for every idiot heading east, like myself, there's an equal number of idiots, as it turns out, heading west, and they all arrive at Knoxville. So got to Knoxville by around, I want to say 11 and change and so forth. And it was maybe 45 minutes before I could get in the door and get my passport stamped. We're lovely, lovely people. I mean, I really got to say, the people who ran this thing were just a dream. Gave me a bottle of water, gave me a couple snacks, nice lovely little drink, container, like one of those Yeti kind of cooler type things. Not a cooler, but a drink thing, and my first $50 voucher. I'm suddenly in the money for this whole thing, and at that point, then you've got to get across the bridge into North Carolina and so forth. At that point, you get the longest leg of the trip. It's 150 miles to Winston-Salem. Pretty uneventful. I gotta say that leg was not bad at all. Got in there. And Winston-Salem had like 4 people there. It was like, what the heck happened? I guess everyone who had started out in the morning decided to go all the way out there. Just no one had gotten that far anymore. Also, I noticed as I'm passing people I met in line at McKay's, because you'd run into them at gas stations later along the route and everything. It's kind of was, oh hey, I'm that guy from the previous stop. You know, people being people did normal things like go to the bathroom and eat food and do all the things that normal people do on road trips. No, but not your humble correspondent. No, I'm like eyes on the prize the entire way out there. So I get to the final end, Mebane, get in there. Immediately I not notice something on the curb being not quite set up right. Face plant right on the concrete. It was awesome. Nobody caught it on video tips so far as I know, but I still skinned my leg. Go in and collect my $500 a voucher, capping them off for $800 for the day, and it's like 6 o'clock at night. I did the whole thing with like 3.5, 4 hours to spare almost. Again, getting to the end, there were like 4 people in line ahead of me. It's like, this is no problem at all. So I figured I can't quite so I mean, at this point I'm doing some math on this promotion, and just to give you an idea, this is a stack of just deep Blu-rays I'm buying it at McKay's. This thing is like $1.95. This was in their budget bin, but I mean, right below it is, I spent all of $3.95 for Battle of the Bulge, or another. I went crazy. Or another $3.95 for Jason Bourne. This is the kind of money we're dealing with here, and so I'm kind of under the impression that maybe the margins of a business like McKay's are not super high, and so I had kind of thought that maybe there's a limited number of idiots who want to drive 620 miles in a day to try to collect trade certificates. But as it turns out, no, there were at least 2,000 people I ran into that were determined to go the entire way. And I'm kind of doing some back of the napkin math in my or where else, just thinking it through, and I'm thinking, this is probably between a $1 and $2 million promotion for McKay's, and I love these guys, and I'm thinking, wow, if they're whatever promotional genius came up with this one, it is either the best or the worst thing they have ever done, because I can't really escape the thought that, well, I've got $800 of trade vouchers, but if the thing goes belly up tomorrow, or for that matter, if 2,000 people with essentially unlimited credit walk into the store, there will be nothing left to buy anyway. So I'm in Mebane, North Carolina, which I love you all and everything, but I did not see a great amount of stuff to do in Mebane, North Carolina. I understand they're getting a Buc-ee's soon, so that's something. So I immediately start shopping at the store, and at that point, I'm buying everything that I can even think to buy. I didn't get back to the comics section, but any CDs I wanted, any Blu-rays I could think to grab. Yep, nope. Heck, they're mine. It's like, and so I come to the counter with like a stack like this, and they're just kind of give me a look like, yeah, I'm gonna be seeing a lot of that today. And I just kind of said, well, I find myself with rather a lot of trade credit all of a sudden, so here you go. And it was $44. I'm thinking, wow, okay, here we go again. And so get something to eat finally, and then I head over to the next stop back. I figure I may as well start working my way back home at this point, and I'm at Winston-Salem. Now, Winston-Salem at that point was an entirely different show, and let me see if I can find the video on that one. I actually did. Remember how I said there were 4 people when I went to Winston-Salem? That was the scene when I was coming out at night. And if you can't see in the background of that parking lot, there's people looped all the way to the back where those lights are. They're around the periphery of the parking lot, and they're actually kind of, what you're seeing in the front is actually where the line doubles up on itself again. But I mean, there's several hundred people, trying to get in at that point, 9 o'clock at night back in Winston-Salem. At that point, it is an absolute horror show. Because again, eyes on the prize, people. If you're ever going to do this kind of nonsense, be focused. Because I blew through there. I was in and out of Winston-Salem in like a couple of minutes. There was a lovely bunch of so you're passing different people on the road, and you're wondering, who are these other people you're kind of in competition for? Because everyone who's in this line has got the Cannonball Run playing through their head right now. That is everyone's mental template for this whole thing. And as a matter of fact, I even heard several people in line at Nashville when I was getting ready to go and say things about Cannonball Run. The guys who really got it done, you blazed out, you were out by 6, you're good as gold. The people who kind of got distracted a little bit, suddenly that little 45-minute step I spent in Knoxville, that suddenly became like an hour, thing for them, for later on. I hear that Knoxville actually got so bad that if you were just like 45 minutes slower than I was getting to Knoxville, they actually closed the entire place down because you couldn't get cars near the exit to even get into it. So the fire marshal, even though it's outside, the fire people were passing out in the heat. The fire marshal closed the entire location down, and the people at McKay's actually were very lovely about it. They just said, "Yeah, well, just go to the next stop. We'll double stamp you." So, but the delays added up exponentially as you went. The people who I imagine were just half an hour faster than me getting going probably ran the entire thing through about as fast as their car could ever have driven. But the people right after me, when I got back to Winston-Salem, I did my shopping, and I looked outside, and again, I come back with another humongous stack of Blu-rays and other, goodies and stuff like that, loading up a couple of giant shopping bags full of them. And I look out, and where there'd been 4 people behind me when I got there, there were like 400 people, there trying to get through at 9 o'clock at night at that point. And at that point, you're not getting through. You're not going to get to the end because you have to get your last stamp before 10 p.m. Otherwise, it doesn't count. So, guys, if you're ever going to do a stupid thing like this, and I'm pretty sure McKay's will never do this again, but if this should ever happen in your life, focus. It's all about the focus. Anyway, got through the whole thing. It was a blast. It was probably one of the more funnest road trips I ever did, even though I was really just doing it by myself. I tried very hard to take kind of bloggy footage, saying, hey, I'm right here doing this stuff right there. But I looked at it when I got back and thought, who's going to want to listen to this? So anyway, I'm clearly not a road trip blogger. I didn't have a cool setup in my car to film me going down the road or doing anything amusing on that way. All you get to hear is stories about me driving. But I got to say, McKay's, wow, good on you for having done it. I hope to God you're alive for me to spend the credit. But if you're ever out in the southeast of America, you could do a hell of a lot worse than stopping by McKay's. All right, so let me see what else has been going on while I've been blabbing on here. Let's see. That was a teaser. Let's see. Back. Okay, so Department of Comics back in. All right, Bucky's. Love that story too. Yes. There is a great picture of me posing with Bucky on my way back from the whole thing. Of course, still wearing the same shirt I wore the night before. One thing I will say, if you ever are in Winston-Salem, well, if you message me privately, I will definitely give you the name of a hotel you don't want to stay in. Because I figured at that point I'm done driving for the night. I've already got 700 miles on the odometer for the day. I'm done. I'm having a beer. It's too late to even eat at that point, and I'm just going to bed. And so I looked for a place that was basically just a place to crash that would be better than sitting and sleeping in the back of my car in 94-degree weather. And I'm going to say the place I wound up staying in was marginally better than sleeping in the back of my car in 94-degree weather, but I wouldn't recommend it. Oro says, TV advertising for inventory reduction sale could easily approach 1.6 mil, which they saved, to say nothing of the incredible foot traffic for plus traffic for years. Yeah, well, I hope to God this was a genius idea on their part and that it gets them a bajillion loyal customers. Because if they just gave away $1 or $2 million worth of inventory, holy crap. I'm I don't even know. But anyway, I certainly enjoyed it, and I certainly have the Blu-rays to show for it, and as well as I still got $650 in credit to go. So basically, anytime I'm looking for a used anything from about here on out, I feel foolish even looking at Amazon during their Prime Day sale, because if I could possibly buy it at McKay's, I'm an idiot not to. So anyway, that was my McKay's story. So I hope it was at least somewhat interesting to folks. But anyway, do check out, certainly patronize McKay's if you're out in the Southeast. And there are a couple also of good Bucky's. Bucky's is, if you guys don't know what this is, I know that you Texans do. Bucky's is a gas station which has its own Horizon line. It's like the size of a small Walmart inside, and outside the gas stations run to triple digits. I'm not lying. As far as how many pumps they have. It is a other world. It is absolutely incredible. And despite all this thing, they're the friendliest people you'll ever meet. The bathrooms are psychotically clean and lovely. They're almost like little art galleries. They have a full-on deli. They've got people serving up barbecue, beef sandwiches inside. They've got bakery. It's nuts. They have like sporting goods, and mementos from all the different areas you'll ever go through. If you ever see a Buc-ee's as you're traveling and you haven't stopped in it, stop what you're doing, take the next exit, go to Buc-ee's, and just expect to spend the next hour just with your mouth on the floor, just looking at, going, what? Anyway, so Buc-ee's was a Texas institution. I saw a lot of them on my trip through the Southwest back in 2008. Finally, they're coming out to my neck of the woods. They opened one up in Crossville. There's one in Knoxville, or actually Sevierville. I'm sorry, Sevierville. Yeah, don't even ask me about place names for things around in the South. It doesn't make any sense. But Sevierville, which is about where Dollywood is, it's another thing which sounds really, really hokey. If you're ever through the the area, you think Gatlinburg, home of Dollywood. Dollywood, like a Dolly Parton themed amusement park, and you're thinking, how sad must my life be if I'm ever going to go to Dollywood? You should go to Dollywood. It's the thing. Yes, it does have Dolly Parton stuff, and so if you're into that, you're in luck. But the other thing it has is some of the best damn roller coasters I've ever been on. I mean, it's absolutely blows Magic Mountain out of the damn lane. Some wooden roller coasters, they're absolutely astonishing. If you like coasters, damn, that is the place. So do check it out. And the other thing Gatlinburg and Sevierville have is loads and loads of bears and pancakes. And if you ever go through there, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. And no, I wasn't joking about the bears at all. And the bears love pancakes, which is probably why they make so very many of them. Department of Commerce says, yes, Buc-ee's has awesome brisket and jerky. Yes, they do. And Oro says, experienced my first Buc-ee's in Terrell, Texas when I went for a total eclipse. Right on. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. All right, well, all right, that's about all I have to say about the big road trip on this one. If you guys have ComicBase questions, fire them off right now. If not, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what's going on in San Diego for me this time out, and then I'm going to wish you adieu because I got to probably pack for my trip coming up. So like I say, we don't go to San Diego as vendors, not for the last couple of years. Usually we do something that's, kind of like San Diego, or at least an online thing. Like I say, sign up for that mailing list. If you're not on it, go to comicbase.com, check your contact info, make sure that email is correct and that you've checked the box to get announcements because things are happening. But anyway, I very much enjoy, once you've been doing, we've been doing ComicBase now for 32 years. And one thing about it, especially in the early years, is one of the ways you got the word out before the internet, before everything else, because yes, we go back that far, is you would go to comic shows. And we figured that's the place where a lot of people who have comic books have an interest. We could talk to them about, hey, we have this great program for managing a very large comic collection. And so we would hit the road, and we would do, essentially all the major shows in the country. But we eventually, over time, we got bigger. Things got more, complicated and expensive to exhibit with. It wasn't just me setting up on a table with a laptop, because that was what the first few shows were like. Matter of fact, I met some really good friends. Some of you guys who are watching right now, I might have met you when it was just like me and a couple of laptops on top of a table in Chicago or someplace. That was with and some of the best people I've met in the entire business. I met that way. Or it's like when you go up there and you say, hey, can you watch my booth because I need to go to the bathroom, and you just turn over the whole thing to like a near complete stranger who's at the booth next to you, flogging his comic or just walking by or whatever else. That's how we did comic shows back in the old day. It's obviously gotten much bigger and glitzier and things like that, and so for the last many years that we did it, we're doing Comic-Con with a big crew and renting suites of hotel rooms and loading van loads full of equipment and everything. I mean, just it's a big freaking production to get the whole thing done. And then as the nature of the comic shows themselves changed, it made less and less sense, although it still was the best part about the whole thing. Almost was really, part of it, anytime I can just show ComicBase off to someone new and say, hey, yeah, there's always someone who's like the very first time they're coming out there and says, hi, I have a comic book collection that I've been working on since I was 15. I am now 65 years old, and my wife will kill me if I don't do something with it. And I've never heard of your product before. What, don't you? It's like, I'm like, really? We've been trying really hard to let people know, but there's always someone. It's like it's their first time, and God bless it. That's the guy you want to meet, because that's the new sale that you wouldn't have met otherwise. And I do miss those opportunities. But the other thing I miss about doing comic shows is it just allows me to chat with you guys, face to face. I mean, it's like this is the fun part for me. It's like we actually get to meet each other, and we also would do a user group meeting in San Diego. I'm gonna see if I can get them to get me on the schedule so we can do something like that, like this in person, next year. I'm gonna see if we can't make that happen, but. Anyway, but I mean, the best part really is just chatting with folks, and also a lot of the people you'd meet if you've been doing it for 30 years are the people who are the other vendors. I mean, I got to be friends with Neil Adams. Got to know his kid when he was just a little kid that would also have to be in the daycare along with my kid because they're all too young to be on the show floor. And now they both grew up and are in college. And Josh Adams is a comic creator in his own right, and so forth. But I mean, these are just the people in my neighborhood because you'd see them everywhere you go doing setup. If you guys have never been behind the scenes at a comic show, like a big one, like a San Diego, what happens is basically 2 days or 3 days before the show, huge, I mean, the actual show floor itself is just a vast concrete empty space. There is nothing in it at all. It's just a concrete floor that stretches as far as you can see. And around the back, you've countless people from all over the country and really all over the world have arranged for freight companies and cargo vans and their buddies with a pickup, and every way you've got of hauling material there. They've found a way to get into the marshalling yard and start hauling their stuff in there starting a couple days before the show, and you erect a city out of nothing. And you can watch over the course of a day or two, if depending on when you get in, as just this vast concrete hall turns into this place of absolute astonishing wonders with spaceships and and crazy video displays and just things you cannot believe, because if you've ever seen the show floor at Comic-Con, it's ridiculous. And and there's always something astonishing every year. There was the year that Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow came out, where you got up in the morning one day and there were these like 60-foot tall robots that were essentially looked like they were attacking downtown San Diego. They were inflatable robots, and it kills me to think that somewhere in some storage bay, somewhere in some storage locker of some company, is the collapsed down thing of those 60-foot robots, because no way did those get destroyed. And man, if you're hearing the sound of my voice and you would like to sell those, I know a guy who wants one in the worst possible way, because that would be the coolest thing ever. But anyway, but yes, I mean, all these people are going and they create this amazing city, and then they open the doors on the first night, and they always, they say, okay, Comic-Con is opening in 5 minutes, in 2 minutes, and it's always inevitably, the minutes before showtime, you're always trying to get a fuse that's just blown out, or a network connection that's just died, or something else that's just gone horribly wrong. And you hear almost the screams of people coming in the hall, always about 2 minutes before they said they were going to open. And then it's absolute freaking chaos for 4.5 days straight. And it's really just wonderful. It really is. It's exhausting. It's absolutely, it's the nuttiest thing you're ever going to do. And then they kick all the people out, and then everyone tears it all down. They roll up the carpets, and it returns to being a vast, empty hall. And it's miraculous. And they do this every single year. And I very much miss that part of the show. I mean, it really is kind of magical being behind the scenes. If you're a vendor, they always tell you don't do it, but you always do it anyway. 20 minutes before they open the thing to the crowd, there's always jockeying for position at the booth, to be some of the people, who don't have to mind the store, who can run around very, very quickly to go to the far ends and see all the things that no one else gets a chance to see, because there'll be 1 million people in the hall in just a few minutes. But, seeing it when it's all shut down, where you're about the only people there and it's quiet, absolutely magical. Anyway, so that part I definitely miss, but probably not enough to pay $10,000 of booth cost to make it happen, and not to mention all the other hotels and other things. Anyway, with that said, I will be down in San Diego for Comic-Con. I'm going to put my name up on the thing here. I'm not quite crazy enough to put my phone number up there, but if you guys write me, I'll certainly get, I can hook you in at pbickford@human-computing.com. If first, and here's the part where I say, anyone who is watching this podcast right now, who would like to get, a drop in, you know what? Let's see if we can't make something happen. More importantly, anyone who is on the ComicBase top 200 leaderboard for submitting corrections and so forth, I have an open offer that I will pay. I will buy you a beer. Which at San Diego, that could hurt me the way that this McKay's thing hurt them in terms of the cost, if everyone takes me up on it. But all you gotta do is come up to me and say, "Hi, I'm blah," from the leaderboard, and be like, okay, where do you want to go? So anyway, at some point I would love to do something that's a little bit more formal, where we actually, maybe rent a space and have beer. That might make, make more practical sense. But in the meantime, I'm certain I am good for it, as people will testify. But in the meantime, yes, please, if you happen to, spot me in the hall, please stop and say hi. That's really the part that's fun. I mean, look, there's great stuff we're going to see on the show floor. As always, everyone's got their new things and so forth. But let's face it, we're going to see a lot of it through the year anyway, and people are pretty good at publicizing stuff on the internet. The part that's just magical about the whole comic world is that we actually get to see each other, and it's fans. We like the same kinds of things. And, we have all bored our girlfriends, and later wives to death with, caring about whether or not Peter Parker has integral web shooters, or whether a device that was strapped to his arm and whatever else. And our girlfriends are always just going, so, you guys are all my people. So anyway, I just want to say thank you all for being our customers all these years. We miss you all a lot when we don't get to see you. And I do want to find a way for us to get together and do some kind of meetup. Even if we would just, pick a time and a place, maybe do it in Vegas. I don't know, but we'll do something. But certainly I'm going to try to make Comic-Con happen as a group event next year. And we'll try to make that go. So with that said, let me do the PSAs for the day. Let's see here. Okay, PSAs. Yes, number one, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you're watching post live stream, please leave your comments. And there are also ComicBase message boards. Do not forget them, forums.comicbase.com, or you can just click the community link at the top of the site. They have lots of great answers, lots of great things about ComicBase, as well as a dedicated thread for suggesting live stream topics, such as this sort of thing, and also a link to Andre's amazing, fantastic, and absolutely insane ComicBase cover catalog. So if you ever want to see what 1,050,000 pictures looked like, of comic books look printed out, that's your chance. All right, so that's about it. And Department of Comics says it sounds about everything about every day of my life. Yep. All right, well, good to go, guys. I will see you on the other side. There will be no show next week. I'm sorry. The other thing I'll be doing down in San Diego, and the reason that my wife is letting me go and coming and things like that, is apparently it's her 40th anniversary for her high school reunion. So I've never been to a reunion for anything before, and so I'm her arm candy. So lucky her. Anyway, I'm expecting any number of stalkery high school boyfriends to come out of the woodwork and make everything very uncomfortable. So if I survive all that, my reward is I get to see a bunch of things in LA, and then I get to go to Comic-Con with for a couple days. But then she gets the car, and she wants, after she drops me off with whatever money is left in my wallet, to go to shopping at Comic-Con, where unfortunately they do not take Bucky's voucher. They do not take McKay's vouchers. Yes, and Greg, very, very kind comment there for Greg. I'm not even going to read it out loud, but anyway, it's very kind of you. All right, well, guys, thank you so much, and thank you all for your support overall. All these years, I cannot believe what a long, strange trip it's been, and I'm looking forward to hitting the road and seeing it again, seeing as many as I can out in Comic-Con. All right, I will see you on the other side. Take care. Bye bye.